Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to talk about primer. Okay, we're going to be talking about this Rustoleum paint and how some of it's changed just recently, and how I'm going to be testing today how it's going to affect these models right here. First of all, the Rustoleum flat black primer. I've pretty much switched over to this from Krylon. I used to use Krylon because it had the because I had some soft plastic models, and it was recommended to me to use the fusion paint on the soft plastic because it would fuse with the plastic and wouldn't come off. And that's been true as far as I could tell, but the Rustoleum seems to have they don't call it fusion, but it pretty much has the same technology built into it, and it has, you get twice as much paint in the same size, two times the coverage in the same can. So it's not thicker, but it goes on thinner, giving you double the coverage, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but what I've noticed is I would have a can of this and it would last me months and months and months before I'd have to get another can. Okay, I can sand it when it's wet or dry. That's pretty awesome. Not that I do a lot of sanding on my primer, but you can if I needed to. And it's flat, and that's important. There are some other primers out there that are satin, and you can't paint on a satin model, so don't use satin to prime. Make sure it is flat. Okay, well, while I was sitting there picking out my paint, because I went there specifically to get 2 cans of this, and I said, you know what, let's get 2 cans of this. And I picked this up and I couldn't find a second can. And then I discovered this. And I was like, what the hell is this? It's a slightly different can, just very slightly. This one says primer, right? This one does not. It does not say primer, right? But up here it says paint and primer. Paint and primer. So I was like, okay, paint and primer, who cares? Whatever, because this is paint and primer, technically. You know, so I was like, whatever. But then I kept reading, and it says now paint and primer. So what I'm kind of thinking is they're not making this anymore. They're only going to make this. But when you look at the cans side by side, you might not be able to see this on screen because of the way the lighting is. They both say black, but one is gray and one is black. The primer one, the old one, has a black label down here and has a black cap. But the one here that says paint and primer has a charcoal and a charcoal. And I would prefer to paint them charcoal, to be honest. But I don't know if you can, I'm going to hold it up closer to the camera and see if you can kind of see the fact that that is not exactly black. Right? Which it says it's black. It said they both say they're flat black, and it might just be a discrepancy in the manufacturing of the can and the cap. But I'm kind of hoping that it is a charcoal color. I think that would be cool. So, as an experiment, what we're going to do is I'm going to paint half of these models here with this good old primer. And then I'm going to paint the other half with the paint and primer. And then we'll kind of, once it dries, which should be very fast. Let's see if it even gives me like a dry time. Spray and go. I don't want that. Clean up. Clogging. Dry. Spray a mist. Clean it. Right. Do not strike can. Well, doy. Okay. time. Here we go. Based on 70 degrees, allow more time the cooler the temperature is. Dries to the touch in 20 minutes. Use 2 to 3 light coats. That's so you don't clog up all the details. Okay, so 20 minutes, and if I have to do 2 coats, 60 minutes, or 30 minutes, 40 minutes, okay? This one says 48 hours. No, it doesn't. Hold on. 70 degrees. Allow more for cooler temperatures. 20 minutes to handle. 1 hour to fully dry. Okay, 1 hour to fully dry. Did this give me a 1 hour to fully dry? 1 hour to fully dry. Okay, so the dry times are exactly the same. So I suspect in the back of my mind that B, it's going to be exactly the same. But we're going to check. For you guys, we're going to figure it out. One says fast drying indoor and outdoor. That's the new one. The old one doesn't say that. It says fast drying wet or dry sandable. Indoor, outdoor, wet or dry sandable. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and spray these guys, and I'll come back with the results. All right, guys, it has been over 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a look at these guys. Now, without having to say anything, you can see on the screen that these have a sheen to them, and these are flat. This is flat. The primer is flat, and the paint and primer is not flat. I mean, this might be considered flat by some, but for me, it's considered shiny or has a sheen to it. This I could tell when I was out there because I prime outside. When I was priming these guys, I could tell immediately. Look at that, I got black paint on my finger. When I was priming these guys, I could tell immediately that this was going to be dry in like 2 minutes and it was going to be flat. When I was priming these guys, it went on wet and you could see that it was wet. And I just assumed that when it dried, it would turn into something like that, but it didn't. It stayed shiny like this. Now, I just grabbed a random set of figures, and you can see it's got, I'm looking at this straight on, the camera's straight on, so you're looking at good coverage, right? Front and back, in between, right? Okay. So if I grab a random figure, random set of figures right here, looks good. Good coverage. Sure. Absolutely. On the plastic, it has good coverage. But when you start looking at metal models, I noticed a little difference. I'm going to grab, I don't know which one's metal. It's hard to tell nowadays. Okay, yeah, this is metal. Metal shining through. Metal didn't even cover it. I mean, that's a direct connect. That's a direct spray. Didn't cover it. Metal shining through. Okay, all that means is I have to do these guys a second time. And the can actually recommends you do it 2 or 3 times, not just one light coat. So there's nothing it's not already telling me. Let's look at some of the metals over here. Okay, that is a metal, but here, let's look at these guys. Look at that. Oh, lots of metal. Okay. That was actually better. Oh, yikes. Okay. So they both have a little bit of the you got to spray twice kind of look to them. So you can't just do it with just one spray. But that's dry already. These are dry. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. To me, that is completely 100% dry, no problem. This, when I pick up these models and I'm feeling the wood feels dry. Yeah. Those feel dry too. Okay, so those are dry. All right, so flat, shiny, about the same coverage. That actually looks more gray than this one. Like I was expecting this one to be gray, but in fact, this one is gray. And so I'm kind of disappointed. Yeah, I was hoping this would be better, but it's not. I think this primer, this flat black primer, is a better way to go. Because this is not flat black. It depends on what their definition of flat is. But you can see the shine here on like his Shaco and stuff like that. And you don't see any of that over there. Now I could hit this up with some dull coat or something like that. But that's just an extra step that I think is a waste. Alright guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this video. I hope that taught you a little bit about this Rustoleum. And which one maybe you might want to pick, or we might want to, if they in fact stopped making this and are now only making this, which I kind of think, because it says now paint and primer, if I can't find any more of this, I'm going to write them and say, get rid of this junk, go back to this. I mean, this is good to have, but continue to make this. Alright guys, thank you for coming out and checking out this video, and I'll catch you next time.